Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!
Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to GNR Central. And today I want to do a true story episode about how Guns N' Roses almost never hit superstardom. Like, I know it's hard to believe, especially for people who claim to be fans of the band but really know nothing about the band's history. But those of you who are probably watching this channel know the story I'm about to tell. So, before Guns N' Roses released Appetite for Destruction, they were playing a bunch of the clubs in LA, and that's where they got discovered by A&R rep Tom Zutaut. Zutaut told the publication Uproxx that he saw Guns N' Roses at a club in LA in 1986. He didn't even see the band play the entire show. He saw them play 2 songs, and he didn't even finish the second song. And he knew at that moment that there was something special about this band. So according to an interview that Tom Zutaut did with Art Tavanna in the LA Weekly, he said that he believed that Guns N' Roses were going to be the biggest band in the world after hearing them play just 2 songs at the Troubadour. He said, just listen to it on the record. Slash was this 19-year-old kid who could give Jimmy Page a run for his money. Slash at 19 was better than Page at the same age. This was rock and roll, not metal, not hard rock, which is the key to the origins of this record. This is a rock and roll record by a band that I predicted would be bigger than Led Zeppelin, which is what I told David Geffen, and put my ass on the line and requested a $75,000 advance to sign GNR in 72 hours. Now, one of the funny things is, Art Tavanna asked, did Geffen ever listen to Guns N' Roses before signing them? And to which Tom Zutaut said no, he never heard of the band until the record was released in July of '87, referring to Appetite. And then even then, I don't think he listened to a track until it went gold. David Geffen trusted me, which is why I worked for him soon after I left Elektra, where I had helped sign Motley Crue. David let me do anything, and I didn't have to argue with a bunch of accounts to get shit done. So in July of 1987, Appetite for Destruction is released, and of course the story goes that it wasn't a big success, and what people may not know is that it wasn't really well received by contemporary music critics. Many critics complained that its massive success with consumers was fostered by a taboo of sex, drugs, and rock and roll during the 1980s, when much of the cultural atmosphere in the US became informed by the Reagan-Bush administration, the AIDS crisis, and the popularity of MTV. So Dave Ling, who is a reviewer in Metal Hammer, said of the album that it was an inferior mix of elements from bands such as Aerosmith, Hanoi Rocks, and AC/DC, but critics in England were much more positive. Kerrang! Magazine claimed that rock is at its best, it being wrestled in the hands of the bland, the weak, the jaded, the tired, the worn, and being thrust back into the hands of a real raunch rebels. Almost a week after Appetite for Destruction comes out, it's August 1st, 1987, and Guns N' Roses are stepping in front of cameras for the first time for their first ever music video shoot that would eventually launch their incredible career. So they had gotten together to shoot the video for Welcome to the Jungle with director Nigel Dick, who we've interviewed before. That clip, Welcome to the Jungle, would serve as proof of Geffen Records' cautious investment in the rookie band. So Appetite had only just entered stores a few days earlier, and the record's first single, It's So Easy, had already fizzled out on the charts. At the time, few suspected Guns N' Roses' powerful potential. So perhaps for that reason, that was why director Nigel Dick, already an MTV veteran through his work with Tears for Fears, kept things relatively simple at the shoot, lining up a performance at the Whiskey A Go-Go where they could be filmed running through the song on stage and playing in front of fans. Between the live footage, the band members were shown on the streets of Los Angeles, reclining with the runway-ready women, or in front of Axl Rose's case, mainlining cable news in front of a pile of televisions, Clockwork Orange style. It was all pretty standard stuff for the era, but as was so often the case with Guns N' Roses, there were a few hairy moments along the way. Former Guns N' Roses manager Alan Niven, who credits himself with the idea of copying a Clockwork Orange vibe and blending it in with Midnight Cowboy and the Men Who Fell to Earth, recalled guitarist Slash being a particular problem during the shoot. Niven told Rolling Stone that at one point Slash sort of kidnapped a vehicle being used at the shoot, and the next day after Niven banned alcohol from the set in response, he turned around and asked for a beer. At another point, Niven recalled Slash wandering into the middle of LA traffic, waving a bottle of Jack Daniels at the terrified rush hour motorist, a situation only brought to Niven's attention by a member of the crew. I explained in a short syllable Anglo-Saxon and with a certain degree of firmness that this behavior was not suited to the circumstances, said Niven. Slash looked at me silently in the eye, then turned and walked home, some 6 or 7 miles away. In the end, whoever was responsible for the ideas and whatever problems that may have occurred along the way, the Welcome to the Jungle video lived up to Niven's stated goals, blended the urban decay, aggressive nihilism, and the dystopian overtones of its influence into the work that fit the established template for a hard rock video of the era, while still suggesting that the band was capable of breaking every rule. Fittingly, it stayed off the airways for months as MTV executives refused to put it on rotation and appetite languished in the lower reaches of the Billboard charts. So the question has to be asked, why would MTV initially decline to play the video for Welcome to the Jungle? Well, the reason being is because half of their cable outlets were run by a right-wing conservative named John Malone, who told MTV's founder Bob Pittman that if he played the dangerous junkie bands, he'd knock MTV off his cable networks. So after many months of blockading the video, MTV eventually played the video, and it soon became pretty heavily played in their rotation. So what was the reason for why MTV decided to finally play the Welcome to the Jungle video? So in the interview that Tom Zutaut did with the LA Weekly and with Uproxx, he explained the reasoning behind it. He said the album was seen as a failure by the label, referring to Appetite for Destruction. GNR had only sold about 200,000 units within 9 months of release, which many bands could have done in those days. Geffen CEO Ed Rosenblatt called me into his office and said that the record was dead, that it was time to move on to the next one. So I went over his head to David Geffen, who called the MTV CEO Tom Freston and pulled a favor to get the video on MTV at 4 a.m. in New York. The next day, after they played the video for the first time, Tom Zutaut said he had multiple phone calls from his office. I called my assistant and said that Rosenblatt and Geffen were looking for me. I got in around 4 in the afternoon and the head of promotion told me that the video had lit up MTV switchboards. He was yelling hysterically and said MTV finally added the video into the rotation after just one play of Welcome to the Jungle. Immediately following the success of Welcome to the Jungle, Guns N' Roses would film another music video for Sweet Child of Mine, and the rest is basically history. So during the first week of release for Appetite for Destruction, which was August 6, 1987, when the Billboard charts came out for that week, Appetite for Destruction debuted at 182 on the Billboard 200. So the album would not top the chart until almost a year later on August 6, 1988, after the band had toured and received significant radio and music airplay with the singles Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, and Sweet Child of Mine. The album ended up spending 4 non-consecutive weeks at number 1 and a total of 147 weeks on the Billboard 200. Slash noted that we thought we made a record that we might do as well, say, Motorhead. It was totally uncommercial. It took a year for us to even get on the charts and no one wanted to know about it. By September of 2008, the album had been certified 18 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, having shipped over 18 million copies in the United States, making it the country's 11th best-selling album ever. So according to Billboard in 2008, it is also the best-selling debut album of all time in the US. That year, Sky News reported the album's worldwide sales to be approximately 28 million copies, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. More recent figures have it at approximately 30 million units sold worldwide. So there you guys have it. That's how close Guns N' Roses came to failing and how close Appetite came to being a flop. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And do you guys remember the first time you saw Welcome to the Jungle on MTV? Maybe, I know some of you guys are a bit older and you probably watched MTV back in the day when they actually used to play music. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed that video. And be sure to go check us out on GNRCentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses and related news as it breaks. Take care.